Alright guys, what's going on? It's time to do a review on the Tactile knife company Rockwall, and this is the thumb stud version in MagnaCut steel. So I mainly bought this knife to try out MagnaCut. Also was curious about the knife itself. It is a little smaller than I normally like, and try not to, have that take away from the knife itself, but more than anything, I bought this knife to try out MagnaCut. I've sharpened it a few times, I've done some edge stability testing, which I'm gonna have a video out soon of that, maybe even before this one. Lots of use on the knife, had to sharpen it a few times. So just to give you, I really want to get my idea of how, if MagnaCut was this, what it was cut out to be, based on, cut out to be, nice pun, based on all the hype around it. But that's not what this video is about. That'll be a separate video. This is about the knife itself. So let's do some size comparisons here. I think the knife that compares most directly to this knife, for me, that I have anyway, and I think a lot of you will agree, was the Quiet Carry Drift. So very similar knife. Both have knurled titanium handles, premium steels, Vanix, MagnaCut. Very similar size, though the Drift feels bigger. I know they look about the same size, but this definitely feels bigger, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. How about the small Arion? This will be a good one to compare as well. About the same size. So this is a smaller knife. Let's put it next to a larger knife so you get an idea. How about a Sebenza 31 large? So it's closer in size to a small Sebenza, which I don't own. I have a large 31 and it's 45. So it's definitely a smaller knife. 4-inch handle, 3-inch blade. So it's also very slim, and I think that's actually one thing I don't love about it. So I don't mind the size overall. The overall length and such is good. It's the slimness of it. We'll talk about that. So, but it's talking about fit and finish on this knife, because I want to talk about this first versus later, because it's a new company, right? And they're bringing this knife to the U.S. made in the U.S., made in Texas, for $300. Especially with MagnaCut steel. Like at this time, there's not very many folders available. I can't think of one actually that's currently available. There's this Spyderco Mule Team, which is a fixed blade. But no one has actually released this. Some people have, Hogue has a Deca coming out, MagnaCut. A lot of companies are going to start using it. You're going to see it more streamlined, but for right now, it's not very easy to get. So props to them for doing that. And this price range, value-wise, is amazing. So I guess we'll talk about value first, because might as well, I want to get this out of the way. I'm super impressed with the build quality of this knife for being a first time. This is their first knife. I mean, they made the flipper first and then thumb stud, same kind of knife. And they did an excellent job. So props to Tactile Knife Company, Tactile Knife Co. If you're familiar with the name, they made pens. I've reviewed pens pens of theirs on my channel before in the past. And they're just excellent machining. Lots of really good machining. So very cool to see a US-made company bringing out a premium folder in a premium steel for $300. I mean, it's pretty hard to beat if you're looking for a USA-made knife. Now, my only gripe on this knife is the size. I knew it was small going into it, but it's how small it is. That sounds funny. It's because it's so thin this way. It's a little too small because of that. If you look at the Drift next to it, the Drift has a much wider handle. They're both really thin this way, but the Drift is wider this way, which means you can get just a bit of a better grip on the knife. So actually using both of these knives, I would definitely choose the Drift, and I'm keeping the Drift because it's just a really good user, because it's got a little bit wider handle. This is so thin that the ergonomics kind of suffer a bit because of that. Under light use, you're fine. I did not put this through light use. I put this through some pretty heavy use, probably more than you would with this size blade, but just to test the steel out. But it gave me a good indication of the knife, whether I like it or not. So the pocket clip feels like a hot spot when you first get it in your hand and you grab it. It's got a hot spot. But when you're actually using the knife, I never felt it. So that was good. So the pocket clip works well. It carries nicely. It really carries like a dream, because it's a positive that it's thin, right? And that it has the deep carry clip. So it carries very nicely. Where really where the knife struggles for me with the size is the deployment of the blade more than anything. It's a little small in the handle. I wish it was a little bit more handle, But the thumb studs are really hard to get to. Like, you really got to dig your thumb into this groove, and then it fires out, right? But like this, like slow rolling it, you've really got to like find it, push it. Just a regular thumb stud deployment works, but it's hard to explain without having used it. It's just a little difficult to deploy. So I don't love the deployment on this knife, even though it is on bearings. You certainly cannot middle finger flick it. There's no way in heck. I mean, you can, I guess. I can probably do it here. Okay, I got it. But you see how long it took me to do that? Like, I don't like to spend that much effort just to flick a knife open when I can just do it so easily there with the drift. So I don't love the thumb stud placement. I think, you know, this knife would be better as a flipper, which I don't like flippers. That's why I ordered the thumb stud. But it would definitely be better as a flipper because these thumb studs are just too close to the frame, and they're just kind of hard to get to. They don't deploy. It doesn't deploy great. It's not, you know, the best. You can't really do a slow roll with that D10 either. Yeah, you kind of can a little bit. But overall, that's my biggest gripe is the deployment and the thumb studs. I have to like do this dual thumb stud action, which is fine, but it's just a little cramped. So for future renditions of this knife, first of all, would love to see it with a bigger blade, a 3.5, 3.25 to 3.5 inch blade, a little bit bigger handle. This thing would be a dream. Be awesome. It's just too, and a little bit wider too. It's just slim this way, and you just don't get as good of a grip on the knife. I think that was their intended purpose though. So their design is what they designed it to be, but for me, it doesn't work very well. The jimping's good. It works well. Like I said, the ergonomics are overall pretty good on the knife. It's just a little small. I don't have big hands, and you can see my hand just swallows this knife up, right? I have like a medium-sized glove, and it just kind of swallows it up. So, you know, it's like they put this MagnaCut steel on here, which is a great steel and for using, and has good durability and edge retention and toughness. But you're kind of this little knife. It's almost like wasted on this little knife because you can't really do a lot of really hard to do stuff with this thing because it's too small. So, you know, the 20 CV it comes with normally, I think is honestly a better way to go because you're really not going to get the benefits of MagnaCut with this little knife. So, but again, the fit and finish is great. The centering is on now. I've had the pivot loosen up on me many times during use, so I haven't locked-headed it down. The sharpening of the steel and stuff I'll cover in a whole different video, so I'm not going to worry about that. This is more about the knife itself. So overall, though, I'm very impressed with their first offering. They have, I mean, it's got really good detail work on it with that milling. You've got a nice looking pivot. You've got flush screw, countersunk screws here. You've got a nice back spacer that's flush. I mean, there's no like snag points. The overall aesthetics and design of the knife are great. It just honestly comes down to two things that I don't love, which is the deployment with the thumb studs and the size overall. So if you're in the market and you're looking and you want to go USA made, it's hard to beat this knife for $300. Even if they charge $350 and made it bigger, all over it. They need to do that. They absolutely need to do it. If you're looking for a small knife though that has a premium steel, the Quiet Card Drift in my opinion is a better choice. It's just a lot more comfortable to use. It's got the forward choil here, and you know, it chokes back. It's not too small because of the wider handle. You still get a premium steel with very, you know, obviously amazing corrosion resistance, great edge retention, pretty good toughness too. So overall, MagnaCut might be an overall better all-around steel, but I just prefer the Drift. I think the Drift's just overall for me a better knife, and I like it better. So just comparing those two, I know those are going to be ones that are very commonly compared, but overall, props to Tactile Knife for doing a great job in their first design, bringing it to a really reasonable price point. USA made is obviously great to see. So overall, I do like the knife. I like the design. Just those two things, too small, and the deployment wasn't great, or what, or one reason why I'm going to move it. You know, I'm going to end up selling it myself. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and see you next time.